We are in volume 7 of the Bible story by Arthur S Maxwell. This is these are 70-year-old books. I got the entire set, and they hadn't been opened, and I'm thinking about 70 years. I mean 50 years because uh, my husband's grandma kept everything like a museum. I mean, perfectly. This is my front of my volume 7. It's got Mary and a little toddler Jesus on the front, and on the back it has Joseph doing his carpenter work because the shaving's down at the bottom, a plane in one hand and a hammer in the other. Um, and of course, the front of them doesn't tell you who the artists are. Okay, the first where we're at, I just opened the book, and we have a full page painting by Herbert Rudin. And like I've been saying, it's not my camera, it's the way the painting is, and it could be the book, the printing of the book. But this is the image, and I think it's just the way my books are, that they're out of focus, not crisp printing. And the caption says, Joseph received warning to flee to Egypt with Mary and Jesus to escape the cruelty of Herod. Their way paid by the Magi's gifts and sent out by night to live among strangers. If you really think about it, yeah, they gave them plenty enough gold that they could march, take their trip to Egypt. If you think about it, because Egypt is a very, very long way from Bethlehem, Jerusalem. If you look at it on the map, they're pretty much still in the same spot, and it looks like, according to this painting, that they're in Cairo, because that's what people think when they think of Egypt. They think more of Cairo because it has the pyramids in it, even though the others had the little step pyramids. But these right here are the Cairo pyramids. Throwing a little tidbit out. Sorry, it's my brain does that. Okay. Part 2. Story 1. Journey to Egypt. Slowly, very slowly, Joseph and Mary made their way southward with their precious baby. It was a long, tiresome journey, for each of the road lay through a dry, sandy desert, where there were no comfortable places for anybody to rest. Yeah. And then, of course, Jesus does have brothers and sisters, and he she may have more than just Jesus taking them down, uh, to, or may have had one of the brothers or sisters down there. Uh, we're never told. Okay. Well, let me get back to the story. It isn't. It isn't more than 100 miles from Bethlehem to the border of Egypt, and today you could travel that distance in a couple of hours. But in those days, it meant several days hard traveling. Yeah, because you're on foot or animal. Poor Mary, how she must have wondered why all this would should have happened to her? Why should Herod want to kill her baby? And if little Jesus was indeed the Son of the Most High, Son of the Highest, as Gabriel had told her, why couldn't she have a home in which to care for him? Why did she have to wander about like this, owning nothing in the world save a few things, tired on of say oh okay. Owning nothing in the world save a few things tied to a donkey's back. To all her questions she could find no answers. Not then. Which is true. At last they crossed the border into Egypt. There was not much difference in the scenery. Just more sand, more desert. But oh, what a relief to know that they were safe from Herod's soldiers at last. Not far when they How far they went into Egypt the Bible doesn't say, but we can be sure that they passed the pyramids which Abraham had seen when he came this way. Oh, so he did go pretty deep in there. So yeah, because back then I think the capital was around Memphis, historically, and they must have walked by a by the Nile, and where Moses had laid in a bulrush when he was a baby. Was laid in the bulrushes when he was a baby. Just where they lived in Egypt, or how long they stayed there, nobody knows. It could be that Joseph got work as a carpenter and to help pay tax expenses, while Mary stayed in some humble home, caring tenderly for her. It says baby, but I'm going to say babies because uh, I'm just guessing. Because we need to go ahead and acknowledge that Jesus did had siblings. That's what I've heard, and the Bible even says. Okay. Okay, one night when Jesus was still a very little boy, the angel of the Lord came again to Joseph, this time with good news. King Herod was dead, he said, and it is now safe for them to return to Palestine. Arise, said the angel, and take the young child and his mother and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. When Joseph was told what the angel had said, I can imagine she wept for joy at the thought of going home. True, God had been good to them in Egypt. What with all the money Joseph had been able to earn and the gold the wise men had given them, they had been able to live comfortably. But always they had felt they were strangers in a strange land. Never a day had passed but they had felt the tug of their homeland. Now they could go back and see their friends and loved ones again. It was too good to be true. Packing up once more, they prepared to leave to the land that had given them shelter in their time of need. One bright morning they set out northward, following, at least part of the way, much of the same route that the Israelites traveled when Moses led them out of Egypt to Canaan. Did you ever wonder what Jesus thought about it? He had come to Egypt in his mother's arms, but he left it on his own sturdy little legs. Of course, he was too little to walk very fast, and no doubt Joseph had to lift him up on the donkey beside Mary every now and then to give him a rest. But, like every other healthy little boy, he was eager to act grown up as much as possible. He was just beginning to talk too, and probably asked, oops, sorry, didn't show the illustration up here. There it is. Joseph playing with him like a father would do with a toddler, and mom making dinner. I, oops, sorry. He was just beginning to talk too, and probably asked an endless stream of questions. They always do. I can almost hear him saying, "What's that animal, Mama? That one with the big hump on his back. That's a camel, dear. And that one with the pointy things on his head, that's an ox. And the pointy things are its horns. And what's that funny house over there? That isn't a house, dear. It's a place where the Egyptians buried one of their kings long, long ago. They call it a pyramid. And who's that lady lying down in front of the pyramid? She seems to be smiling at me. Oh, that is a very old statue cut out of rock. It is called the Sphinx." So he chattered on, asking questions and still more questions about everything he saw. Patiently, Mary answered them all as best as she could, which a mom always does, because I went through it. Every now and then she tried to tell him little bits of history that she thought he would understand, about how God had watched over his people in this very place, and how he had brought them out of bondage into freedom in the happy, happy land where they were going now. And then, of course, it has, I'm going to say, about a 4-year old uh, Jesus, or represents about a 4-year old, I would say. And there's the illustration. But again, like I said, it could be more than just Jesus leaving out of Egypt. And if it's like my mom, uh, and by the time I was 4, I already had 3 siblings. And that was in the end of part 1, story 1, and that's just my explanation that they might have been more than just the 3, and that's just my idea. Don't hold word on it. Okay, it's break time, so I'm gonna break, and then we'll be back in just a bit.